So, Mike, Robert just laid out the core case for Bitcoin and the national interest of the United States. Bitcoin, in his view, very much at the center of fiscal and monetary policy for the future of the U.S. in his view. Mike, you're a macro hedge fund manager. You spent a lot of time thinking about these issues, not just empirically, but normatively. What's your take on Robert's view? What do you think and why?
Well, first, I just want to make sure I actually understand the mechanism that he's describing. So the U.S. acquires Bitcoin from existing holders, does so quietly through a non-disclosed line item in the U.S. Treasury budget, and then benefits from the appreciation that occurs once it's been revealed that the U.S. has acquired Bitcoin. That's how the U.S. generates the funds that you're identifying?
That would be strategically sound. They can acquire it publicly or privately, but it would be in the best interest of anyone that it could acquire it to do so quietly first before announcing it.
So you would want the U.S. government to be engaged in subterfuge with markets in order to accomplish your objective.
What do you mean subterfuge?
Not revealing what they're doing, not disclosing in the line items of the U.S. budget that they are acquiring Bitcoin. Would this be conducted through the Federal Reserve?
Is that not what the U.S. government is doing now? Do we know how many dollars are produced or where they're allocated? Is there any auditability of the Fed?
Yes, the Fed produces a daily report, actually, of its purchases. It produces a monthly report in distinct detail. The U.S. government produces a line item budget that discloses what money is being used for. That's actually approved by the U.S. Congress. If it's functioning well, sometimes it doesn't work all that well. But what you're describing is you want the U.S. government to, instead of acquiring, or the Fed, instead of acquiring mortgage-backed securities, you want them to just buy Bitcoin and don't tell anyone about it.
Well, you can tell someone about it if you like, but strategically, it would make sense if you're going to front-run geopolitical accumulation that you'd want to do so quietly first.
Why in the world would you object to them buying MBS but encourage them buying Bitcoin?
I haven't objected to MBS.
You absolutely have. You've objected to the expansion of the Fed's balance sheet.
When did I object to the expansion of the Fed's balance sheet?
Robert, when you
I just advocated for it.
So you would encourage the Fed to expand its balance sheet and to quote unquote print money and create reserves in order to acquire the asset that you currently hold. But if they're the assets that are held by banks, you object to that, or you don't really care. And so this is really just about buying Bitcoin.
No, this is me laying out my strategy as if I'm in the driver's seat of the United States, and I'm going to adhere my monetary strategy to Gresham's law. So I will spend and borrow the weaker money to acquire the hardest money that I can. And that's what I'm advocating for in this strategy.
So you are going to adopt Gresham's law as the law of the land. That is the primary objective of the U.S. government, is not to develop the capital resources of its population, not to raise the human capital, not to take the children of the United States and provide them with the greatest opportunity, but instead to acquire Bitcoin with the objective of using the appreciation of Bitcoin to fund expenditures in defense, nuclear power, desalinization. I mean, my God, Robert, you have just outlined a perfect central planning dream.
Did you listen to the end of everything that I said?
I did listen to the end.
Okay, so it's not central planning.
No, it is central planning. You have literally just laid out, this is exactly how I want us to spend all the money.
Yeah, this is how a centrally planned budget adapts to the technological realities of an unstoppable free market money. And this is also the only means by which a nation state can adapt to the new technological realities of the 21st century. So you're making an ethical claim against the strategy that I laid out. So are we talking strategy or are we talking ethics here?
Well, we're talking ethics, both.
Statism should not exist at all.
So statism should not exist, but the state should engage in the activities that you recommend.
Well, the state should do what's in its strategic best interest, as all organizations should, and that's what I've just laid out.
So you can describe what are the best moves from the state. You as an individual can predict this.
Well, we can all make assertions.
I think that's actually a really important point, Robert, that what you are making is assertions that Bitcoin is unstoppable, that it is the strongest, hardest money, that money is the most marketable good, right? You rely on the prescriptions of Austrian economics and the idea of a praxeology that doesn't have any component of anything other than a first principles, this is what I believe to be true.
Would you care to walk through any of the rest of the strategy or propose an alternative?
So I would actually propose that part of the alternative is to focus us on exactly what I described, to start thinking about how do we maximize the value of human capital in the United States? How do we set conditions in place so that people can thrive and succeed? And part of the dynamic that we have in the United States is an extraordinary degree of wealth inequality that I completely agree with. Many of your concerns are predicated and enhanced by the behavior of the Fed, who's stepping in to prop up asset markets and various other components. I actually completely agree with many of those concerns and decry many of the same decisions that you decry. The difference between the two of us is I actually want to give people a direction and then allow them to make the decisions, as compared to saying, hey, this is the only possible path, right? I think we have terrible leadership, but the path forward is to get better leadership. Fixing the money, right, does not fix the world. It does not change the outcome. It never has, right? And you've actually heard this from your own guests, whether it's Eric Weinstein or Robert Pagot. They tell you over and over and over again that your solutions are ahistorical, to use a term I use all the time, and incredibly unlikely to succeed. And your response is, but I believe Bitcoin.
Hey, if you like this clip, be sure to check out the full interview and more only on realvision.com/crypto. It's 100% free. Sign up now.